The night it happened didn't start like chaos. It started with a phone call. It was 11:47 p.m. when my mom's number lit up my screen. I almost didn't answer. We hadn't spoken in a week, not since she'd called me a disappointment in progress for refusing to give my sister more money. But something in the middle of the night always means trouble in our family, so I picked up. Her voice came rushed, urgent. "Danielle's in trouble. She's been arrested." My stomach dropped. "What did she do this time?" Mom snapped. "It's not what she did. It's what you can fix. Get to the station, now. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video." I threw on a hoodie and drove through the cold. The roads were empty except for the flashing blue lights up ahead. The closer I got, the tighter my chest felt. Every time my sister drank, disaster followed. But Mom always found a way to mop it up, to twist the story, to make Danielle the victim and me the spare part that cleaned the mess. When I walked into the police station, Mom was already there. Perfect posture, perfect makeup, like she'd rehearsed the performance. Danielle sat on a bench, eyes bloodshot, mascara smeared, a white bandage around her wrist. "What happened?" I asked, glancing between them. Mom gave me a look that said, "Shut up and listen." Then she smiled at the officer behind the desk. "This is my other daughter," she said sweetly. "The one who was involved." My heart stopped. "What?" Danielle looked away, biting her lip. Mom turned to me with that calm, poisonous tone she always used when she wanted control. "You two were arguing outside the bar, weren't you? You pushed her." I blinked. "What are you talking about? I wasn't even there." She lowered her voice, stepping closer. "You will be." The officer cleared his throat. "Ma'am, are you saying she assaulted her sister?" Mom nodded, still smiling. "It was an accident. She loses her temper sometimes." I couldn't breathe. "You're lying. Mom, you're lying." She leaned in so close I could smell her perfume, that heavy floral scent that always made me sick. "You'll thank me later," she whispered. "She can't afford another DUI. You, on the other hand, you've always been more replaceable than useful." It took me a second to understand what she'd just said. Then it hit. She wasn't covering for Danielle. She was sacrificing me. The officer motioned for me to follow him. My voice cracked. "You can't be serious. Check the footage. I wasn't there." Mom folded her arms, looking bored. "Honey, stop making this harder. You've always had a problem with jealousy. You hate seeing your sister succeed." "Success?" I laughed bitterly. "She was drunk driving." "Watch your tone," she snapped. "You're already in enough trouble." They took my statement like it was routine. I kept saying the same thing. I wasn't there. They said there was a witness who claimed I'd hit Danielle outside the bar. I didn't have to ask who it was. Mom always found someone willing to play her game. By 1 a.m., I was sitting in a holding cell for domestic assault. Danielle was outside, crying into Mom's shoulder. Every time I saw them through the glass, I thought about all the times I'd covered for her before. The lies I'd told to keep Mom from exploding. The secrets I'd swallowed to protect the family's image. It was all for nothing. Mom didn't even look at me as I was processed. She stood by the counter, signing papers. Calm, efficient, detached. She looked like a woman paying a bill, not a mother destroying her child. When they finally released me the next morning, I found her waiting by the exit. The sun was barely up. She was holding a coffee cup and that same cold smile. "Don't look so dramatic," she said. "You'll survive. You always do." I stared at her. "You lied to the police." She took a slow sip. "You lied to yourself thinking you were special. Danielle needs this chance to clean her record. Family helps family. Family doesn't frame each other." She rolled her eyes. "Oh, stop. You've always been the self-righteous one. You'll get over it." And then she turned, heels clicking against the pavement, heading to her car where Danielle waited. Free, smiling faintly, her face turned away. I stood there in that parking lot, still wearing the same clothes from the night before, feeling like my entire life had been rewritten while I wasn't watching. At home, the phone kept ringing, relatives calling, whispering, "We heard you hit Danielle. How could you?" Mom had gotten ahead of me, She always did. I thought about posting the truth online, showing the world what kind of people they were, but Mom's voice echoed in my head. You'll thank me later. She was right about one thing. I wouldn't forget, but I wouldn't forgive either. That night, I sat by the window, staring at their house across the street. The porch light flicked on, and I saw their silhouettes through the curtains, the perfect family tableau, laughing over dinner. I smiled for the first time in 24 hours. It wasn't a nice smile. It was quiet, cold, certain. Because they thought I'd been humiliated, that I'd fade away, like always. But I was done being the one they erased. They'd framed me to protect her. Now I was going to show them what happens when the replaceable one finally stops playing by their rules. And I wouldn't need lies to do it, just truth, sharp enough to cut through everything they built. The first week after the arrest felt like moving through fog. My name was still in the system, even though the case was pending review. Every time I passed someone on the street, I wondered if they'd heard. My job put me on leave until things clear up. My landlord started giving me careful looks. Mom's work? Spinning the story faster than I could breathe. Poor Danielle, she told everyone. Her sister attacked her during a breakdown. We're just praying for healing. I read that line on Facebook, written by my own mother, and something inside me went still. No screaming, no crying, just a clean, frozen kind of anger. 2 nights later, I went to their house. I didn't plan it. I just drove there. Their lights were on, laughter echoing through the open kitchen window. I stood outside for a long time, watching silhouettes move behind the curtains. Mom pouring wine, Dad reading the news, Danielle giggling like she hadn't destroyed my life. When I finally knocked, Mom answered the door like she'd been expecting me. "Oh," she said softly, like I was an inconvenience. "You shouldn't be here." "Then why am I the one outside?" I asked. She smiled. "Because that's where people who can't control themselves belong." I stepped closer. "You framed me. You lied to the police. You let them put my name in a report that says I'm violent." Her tone stayed level. "Better your name than hers. Danielle has a future." "And I don't?" "You never did, darling," she said quietly. "You were always too difficult to build one." That was the moment I stopped begging for answers. After that night, I stopped calling. I stopped defending myself. I deleted social media, shut everything down, and let them believe they'd won. I wanted them relaxed, unguarded. I needed time. The breaking point came 2 weeks later when I ran into the officer who handled my case at a cafe. He looked uneasy when he saw me. "Miss Gray, right?" "Right," I said flatly. He hesitated, then leaned closer. "Off the record. Your sister's BAC was 0.14. We were ready to file DUI charges until your mother came in with a statement saying you attacked her in the parking lot. That changed everything." My hands went cold around the coffee cup. "There's no footage?" He shook his head. "Bar cameras were accidentally wiped, but I didn't delete anything. If something was removed, it wasn't by us." And just like that, I knew where to start. My mom had a friend on the city council, an IT consultant who helped manage evidence for her when Danielle got caught shoplifting at 17. I remembered his name. I remembered the smug grin at every family gathering. By the next morning, I'd pulled every public record I could find on him: procurement contracts, maintenance logs, digital evidence access. The man was sloppy. He'd logged into the city's video server at 2:14 a.m. the night of the arrest. No warrant, no justification. Just a deletion log. I didn't go to the police. I went higher. A legal advocate for wrongful arrests. Someone Mom couldn't charm with tears or threats. I sent her the data anonymously. Every timestamp, every file trail, every text message Danielle sent that night bragging. Mom fixed it again. It took 10 days for the first call to reach Mom. Another 3 for the subpoena to hit their mailbox. By then, the police department reopened the investigation. Mom showed up at my door again. Same perfume, same calm smile. Only this time, her lipstick was smudged and her voice trembled. "You don't know what you've done," she hissed. "Yes," I said. "For once I do." Her mask cracked. "Do you think this makes you look better? You'll ruin your own family." "You did that," I said. I'm just making sure the world finally sees it." She stared at me, and for the first time in my life, she looked afraid. "You don't understand how far this will go." "I hope it goes far enough," I said. "Farther than your lies ever did." When she left, she slammed the door so hard the glass rattled. I stood there in the silence afterward, realizing how quiet the house felt, like a storm had passed but hadn't finished yet. That night, I got a text from Danielle. "Mom's freaking out. They reopened my case. Please, can we talk?" I stared at the message for a long time, then typed back, "You should have thought about that before letting her destroy me." No reply came, but I didn't need one, because for the first time in my life, they were finally the ones being questioned. And I hadn't even begun to show them what accountability really felt like. Mom's downfall didn't come from exposure or chaos. It came from silence, the kind she never understood, the kind she used to weaponize against me. After the state reopened the DUI case, everything she'd built started to rot from the inside. Danielle's employer suspended her. The family's name was dragged into legal review. But Mom kept her poise, called lawyers, threatened defamation, and acted like she still held every card. That illusion cracked when she got the letter. A quiet, official envelope with my handwriting on it. Inside were copies of every document, her signed false statement, the deleted footage log, and a written confession from her IT friend who had folded the moment investigators leaned in. I didn't add a note. She didn't need one. A week later, I got a call from Dad. His voice was low, almost pleading. "Your mother's not herself," he said. "She hasn't eaten in days. Just stop this." I almost laughed. "Stop what, Dad? The truth?" He sighed. "You think this makes you right? You think ruining your family is worth it?" "They ruined me first," I said quietly. All I did was remove the paint and show what was underneath. He didn't reply, just hung up. From that day on, no one in town called me the violent daughter. They called me something else. The one who got away. The one who didn't break when they pushed her. Danielle tried to reach out months later. She sent one message. "Mom says she forgives you." I stared at it until my phone dimmed, then typed, "She can keep her forgiveness. I'm done borrowing guilt that isn't mine." Her typing bubbles appeared, then disappeared. I never heard from her again. Mom eventually pled guilty to obstruction, claiming temporary emotional distress. It didn't save her. The town she'd spent years impressing turned its back. Her friends stopped calling. The family brunches turned into whispered apologies that no one believed. But I didn't go to court. I didn't watch her fall. I didn't need to. My revenge wasn't the papers or the police. It was knowing she finally had to sit in the silence she gave me all my life, with no one left to clap for her, no one to save her from herself. I moved out of town, started over quietly. New apartment, new number, new name on the mailbox. Sometimes I still dream about that night at the station, the fluorescent lights, her whisper against my ear. "You've always been more replaceable than useful." Now I smile when I remember it, because she was wrong. I wasn't replaceable. I was the only one who ever saw her clearly. And in the end, the woman who used lies to protect her perfect daughter was left with nothing but truth, and no one willing to believe her. So when the phone rings late at night, I don't pick up, because I already know who it is, and this time it's her turn to explain herself to silence. Please subscribe to our channel and tell us in comments from where are you watching this video.